Yeah, it's good afternoon. It is Wednesday, February 26th, just after 1:30 p.m. And we are being joined, as she joins us on the last Wednesday of every month. She is Newport School Superintendent Colleen Jermain, and I should probably welcome Frank as well. Frank is here. Frank, how are you?
I'm doing fine. How are you? Let me tell you what's going on in the schools. Oh, wait,
There
you
you go.
go.
I know.
Well,
I got you all swapped around
I
here.
feel so much better.
Before I jump out of the way and let Frank take this away, what I wanted to point out in the last Newport School Committee meeting was a long one. It was an active one, and I'm sure you guys will talk about it a lot, but I'm not sure Frank has had a chance to watch it. I encourage everybody to go back, and you're going to have to help me a little bit, Superintendent, but the judge who came and spoke about the students and absenteeism and how Newport is performing. And I've been meaning, it's on my notes here, to go back and actually write a story about all the good things he said about Newport and how Newport's improving and how Newport's being used as a model. Just wondering if you could kick off with kind of a summary of that conversation, because I think it's an important one.
it is. And I think, if anything, the judge highlighted that it's a community effort. It's, the schools need all the help they can get from, support from families, but it's also our community partners, because many of our families and children need additional support outside of the schools in order to be successful. Some of them have food insecurity, some of them have home insecurity. Some are looking for part-time jobs. And what we have done, and I credit Anthony Brigetta, Megan Cawley at the middle school, what they've done is they've come together and they've done a team effort as far as just making us all aware, from my office all the way through to the teaching staff, of the meetings that are going on, the truancy court meetings that are going on at our middle and high school, and how all our presence is important. And that's something that's very different than previous judges. Previous judges had not really thought of or come that way, as far as thinking about, let's get everyone involved in this and at the table. So now you go to our meetings and it's surrounded not only with our our administrative staff. I go when I'm able. School committee members attend, but we all go to share with the parents and students that we're here to help you. School is important. You need to be in school, and what is it we can do to help you? And it's having a tremendous amount of positive impact. Our numbers are getting better. And even though this time of year is very tricky, you'll see in my newsletter, I'm saying I'm getting a little nervous because attendance does start to drop around this time of year. And we're trying to make sure that everyone keeps it a focus. But his efforts are extraordinary. And he's actually going to come and visit, have an informal meeting with our elementary parents, because that is where it starts. It's like anything else. Bad behaviors set in when children are young. So we want to set them off in a good direction and make sure they understand the importance, and parents understand that there are other resources here to support them for their children to be successful and make sure their children are in school every day. It's a lifelong skill. Knowing that one has to show up and be present, not only in school, but eventually in life, as far as work or whatever your career is. So we're very excited about it. It's a big positive and a big win for us.
Yeah, I just wanted to quickly bring that up because it's unique to have a judge come and present to any body of government, but especially the Newport School Committee. All right, Frank, take it away. I'm sure you have all.
I'm going to stay on that theme a little bit, Colleen, because you talk
Sure.
often about the influence of family on the student when it comes to attendance or anything else. And I think we see it around Rhode Island, where you have the more affluent communities. Kids do better because they come from a different environment. Puts more pressure, I think, on the parent in Newport. But still, their influence is tremendous. And you, last year, if I'm correct, you started some kind of a parents' council or something like that. Is that still going?
Yes, that is still going. We have a parent advisory council, and I meet with them. And as a matter of fact, my next one is next Thursday, and that will be at 9:30 at CCRI. But this parent group is small, but it's very effective and it gives a lot of good advice and a lot of guidance as far as some of the things we can be doing in the schools to help encourage better attendance for our students. It also helps us as far as some of the things we can do to encourage children to want to be part of their school community. So that is still ongoing, and the suggestions they've given us have made impact. So we're going to continue to follow their lead and hold the meetings. We hold them once a month on Thursdays.
Go off course a little bit. A conversation I've had with other superintendents with the proliferation of disinformation in this country, with the abundance of social media that defies accuracy. What are we doing in the schools to help the kids decipher fact from fiction?
I think the most important thing we do is consider the source. Sounds simple, but we say consider the source. Where did you hear that information? Did you actually see something, or did someone report that to you? I think time after time, being a former dean and being a former principal, when things are reported, it's always been, tell us, where did you find out about that? Where did you hear about that? We've had incidents at times where misinformation has been spread, and it's caused, some fear and panic among some of our school students. And I don't like to recall it because it was very scary for a lot of them. But, when those rumors about ICE was in the school buildings or ICE was doing this, none of that ever happened. And we had to be very clear, and I had to be very clear that late afternoon to get a message out to the public that none of that had happened. But people start to panic, and it sometimes it's not intentional, sometimes it is. So you have to be very careful on where you're getting your information and making sure you're paying attention. I think those are the things. In the schools, I think for our young people with cell phones, it becomes very challenging. And I believe through Mason Choice, one of our, we call him an interventionist type as far as behaviors, but he does restorative practices as far as let's get children around a table, have a conversation, and let's talk about that rumor you heard, or let's talk about what you thought someone may have said. And I think as children go through that process, they begin to understand better the importance of considering the source and making sure they're making smart decisions when they do hear information. And again, one doesn't always get one's information from one source. I'll say, I even noticed that when I was still a building leader and teacher, that it was very important that we go to multiple sources to see multiple opinions. And I think these days for our young people, it's very easy for them to see when they can access, I should say, so many different channels. You can go from MSNBC to Fox News to all these other different stations to hear what everyone's saying. And then somewhere in the middle, you yourself have to decipher, what do you believe is happening or going on?
Is there anything that is in any of the classes, be it civics or anywhere else, that tries to teach these kids the skills of everyday things that they hear and how they can vet them? I think today, with the attack on the media, there is more pressure put on the individual to be the fact checker, and I'm concerned that you teach them as kids that they don't often have the skills to be able to figure out what's correct and what's not.
That's interesting you brought that up. I was visiting classrooms over at Pell, and even as young as that age, a lot of the work that in one of the classrooms, it was a reading class, that they're citing, all right, tell me, prove that. How do you know that? Based on what? I think starting at a very early age to be able to cite references, to be able to cite where one finds one information is very important. I'm trying to think over in Pell, Actually, in Thompson, I saw in one of the ELA classes, the teacher was having the same discussion in, now your book said this and the other book said that. How do you decide and cite the circumstances in which that happened? So I do think it is, I don't know if it's a direct consider the source, but I think it's, I know we're teaching the skills for our young people to, when they do start to form opinions, they base it on the facts they read, whatever they're reading.
It's just with everything going on, it just seems so much more important. What I gather is we're doing okay with attendance. That seems to be getting better.
It's getting better. It's still not where it should be. I'm going to be straight on that. We need to improve. We need to continue working on it. And we just want everyone in school. Just come to school. And I'm going to bring up tardies. No more stopping for coffee on the way to school. And I'm directing this at some of our parents and families. All right, if you're running late, you don't have time to pick up a coffee. They need to be in school on time at 7:30 or 8 o'clock, because that's one of the other things that does get some of us a little annoyed when they walk in and they're holding a coffee cup and it's like, wait a minute, you're 5 minutes late. You didn't have time for that coffee. So that's something I'm hoping we all start to change our behaviors there, or we leave the house 10 to 15 minutes earlier to go get the coffee.
Set the alarm earlier.
Yeah.
Not a bad idea. How are we doing with Rogers?
Rogers is great. As a matter of fact, I'm chuckling because on my screen I have texting available. I was just out on the roof of the new building. We were taking a look at the roof and had to climb up a ladder, and someone thought they were being cute and they took a picture of me climbing up the ladder. So it's coming along. It's looking great. We're very excited about it. We're getting ready for, to set dates for ribbon cutting. We're thinking late August, maybe around August 22nd. The teachers, this office included, we all have our boxes. We're getting ready to pack up. Early June, we'll start moving out and hoping to transition over the first few weeks of June when we're able, so that by the time the middle of June and school's out, that most, if not all, of whatever we needed to move out of the old Rogers High School is out of the old Rogers High School building. Tonight, we have a very important meeting regarding the NACTEC building, and that will help ensure, if passed and approved by the school committee, that that building will stay intact. And we will move administration offices over there. Some other central offices will come out of some of the school buildings we have them in right now. And we'll keep our NACTEC programs of automotive and cosmetology. So we're very excited about that. Fingers crossed. And we'll see how tonight's 5:30 meeting goes for the future of the NACTEC building. The new building is just amazing. It really is. And I can't wait for the doors to open and everyone to be able to see all the great work that's been going on.
What are the issues with the NACTEC building? Is it financial? Is it structural? What are the things that would prevent that from happening?
Right now, it's just the desire of the school committee. Because right now what we have is we do have some estimated costs as far as the redesign of the electrical, wastewater, and electrical and water. So we do have already, we have those estimates. Gilbane, our partner and construction oversight company, has already provided that to us. And it came to rough estimates of about 300,000. And it looks like we'll be able to move forward with that and not have to look for other resources at this time to be able to complete that. For those of the people that are wondering, so how are you doing that? If we had knocked down the NACTech building, there were removal costs there for the NACTech building and the knockdown. So we're looking at that. We think we're in good shape right now. It's going to be up to the school committee. And I know, as I've mentioned before, we have two new members. Dr. Robert Power, he ran on that. You know, if anything, I'm just running to make sure we keep that NACTech building, to keep those two programs, cosmetology and automotive, on the campus. And I know Miss Beth Cullen, she also ran on that, keeping it, not only to keep those programs, but to continue growing career tech programs, hands-on learning, and especially focused on career readiness and job preparedness. So we're very excited. We'll keep our fingers crossed.
Are there plans to expand career tech next year?
At this time, we do not have additional programs. We're just happy if we can have all our programs here on the campus, because as you may recall, we already had an alternative site over at the Navy base, and we thank our partners over at the Navy base. They were going to house our automotive program, and we were going to do some creative scheduling to enable that to happen for our students to stay there a half day. Our cosmetology program, we were having a lot of challenges trying to find a working station for them for that hands-on experience that they need in order to fulfill the required licensure hours. So now we're in really good shape. Everything's here, and we hope, I'm going to say we hope, and we'll see what happens tonight at our meeting.
Have the kids and the teachers had an opportunity to tour the construction area? And is there a building excitement about the new building?
Excitement is growing all the time. The more students that go through, the more excitement we see and hear about. Children every Wednesday at 9 o'clock, we need the permission slips, are touring the building with their teachers. Today we had a small group go over, but I want to encourage everyone. Our goal was to get all the students at Rogers High School on a tour. I don't know if that's happened yet, but we do want all our students to know, and their families and parents to know, they are eligible and able to tour 9 o'clock on Wednesdays at Rogers High School. They just have to have that parent permission slip for insurance purposes.
I want to backtrack a little bit to attendance. You mentioned that at this time of year that attendance sometimes becomes a challenge. Does it become a challenge with a particular group or a particular grade level, or is it just generally throughout the system?
Usually, Frank, my experience, and at least what I'm noticing with the data, it happens with some of our juniors and seniors. And some of the seniors that are having struggles, and we're trying to get across the graduation, across the stage for graduation. Sometimes this time of year is very challenging for them because this is where they really have to buckle down. Some of them may be making up coursework. And then we have our juniors who are just basically, I think, thinking about moving forward and, you know, what is it I really want to do? So those are the two classes I worry about the most during this time of year. But we have a great attendance internal team here. Evelyn Folcarelli, Mike Monahan, we have Anna Gomes. We have a bunch of teachers and those three from our guidance area that focus in on those students to see what they need in order to graduate. So we'll get there, but we really need to watch this very carefully. Winter sports is ending, it's coming to an end, and spring sports is about to begin, as well as we'll be having concerts and art show. We have an art show underway right now at the DeBlois Gallery, so I encourage anyone that wants to go take a look at that. We also have some work for the Aquidneck Land Trust. That's up at the Newport Art Museum. And then we have some other competitions coming up that I know Barbara Wunderlander, our arts director, is overseeing. So, and then we'll have our concerts. We have the St. Patrick's Day Parade. Our children will be marching in on March 15th. And March here in Newport is a month of St. Patrick's Day celebration, Irish celebration every day. So I'm sure, and I already know, we have some activities going on around that. So we're very happy. Tomorrow, I believe the Boys and Girls Club is coming for a presentation to meet with some of our students. So I'll find out more about that, I think, later this afternoon. So yeah, it's a busy time of year.
Yeah, we did have a couple of questions that were sent in, so I should address those. One of them asked us to ask you about the labor situation, settled a few months ago, but there's some suggestion here that from the union's perspective, there's a little bit of concern.
Well, the only thing I can say is I was not involved in the settlement. It was the union and the school committee. So if the union has concerns, then I don't know, maybe they can clarify more what their concerns are, but I would think they would be appreciative of what is in that settlement. But I don't want to speak on something in which I wasn't involved. So
Well, perhaps we'll reach out to the union and get their perspective, and then come back to you.
All right.
The other was a question about MLL learners and how certification is going, and how that whole program is. I know that you were putting some teachers through the training, right?
Yes, we are now, and Newport Public Schools doesn't do the actual training. We have, like today, Side Slits, for instance, is at Pell. We have consultants come in and they do workshops, they do presentations, they do follow up with some of our ML teachers. And yesterday they were at TMS. So Sidelitz is here. Dr. Mooney's overseeing that. RIDE does have some approved programs that the certification that they'll honor. The one we have, I would say Newport Public Schools has leaned on a lot, is the Roger Williams University Certification Program, which begins in June and ends the following June. It's a one-year course, which does require, while you're working, to also use some of these strategies with the students you're working with. Part of our settlement is we pay, I think it's about $6,500. We pay to cover costs for that, and we also help in supporting for the books that they need, supplies they need to attain the certification. The ML certification needs, we have a rough draft for next year on what we will need as far as classrooms based on the student population we have and the levels those students are at. So right now we have a working draft. We've shared it with the TAN leadership, and then we will go back and look at where we need to post those positions. Again, going to the settlement, it states that we will first offer the jobs in the ML classrooms, and then after we're done with that, we'll go through, I'm just saying off like a grade 6 position or a grade 7 math, but they have an order in the settlement that they want us to follow.
Is your expectation that the number of MLL learners will increase next year?
We do have, Dr. Mooney is, yes. The answer is yes. Dr. Mooney has already projected, speaking to some of our PK programs in Newport, the number of children that are non-English speaking and or some that we have tested through access testing, and they're at a level 1 or level 2. Level 1 or level 2 requires more support and service time. So that's what we're trying to ramp up and be prepared for in school year 25-26. Again, I'll say it's a moving number in the sense of population, because over the summer we do get late registrants, and then we have to make adjustments as we move forward. But we try as best as possible based on the student population we have now and the best information we have now to set up the staffing needs for the future year. uh, it's a tricky one. It always has been. It doesn't make any difference if it was ML students or how many special ed students you have, or how many students you have that require special services. It has to do with your summertime registrants. And some of the things we're looking at here in Newport, we have a few building projects that are being completed up in the north end. And we don't know, and in April from Rhonda over at Newport Housing Authority, she's gonna help us find out, will we have additional families? So that boosts our enrollment. Then we also look at, there's the Navy cutter coming in, I think it's Coast Guard cutter, but Aquinic Island available housing is so tight that we have already been informed that many of those families that are coming through the Navy are looking over in the Jamestown, North Kingston, West Warwick area, as far out as that, just because of the availability of affordable rents and housing in those communities. Over here, it's very tight.
Site around much of the state, actually, and Warwick also is embroiled in its problems with its school building project that is that I guess is coming in way over budget, and I'm not sure exactly where it stands, but I know there was some concern of whether or not that project was going to go forward. So we'll be interested to see where that goes.
Yeah.
How are things budget wise this year? How are you doing with that?
This year's budget, we're doing okay. We're right in line. We don't have any at this moment, knock on wood. We have no concerns regarding this year's budget. Right now, we do, and it's still a work in progress, the budget for the 25-26 school year. We still have a lot of work to do. Our gap is still over $2 million, and we're hoping within the next couple of weeks, we'll be able to address some of those concerns. So we're looking at everything from scheduling to, staffing, to seeing if we have any contracts or anything like that. But I'm going to say Director Gonzalez and Director Andrade have done a really good job as far as addressing any of those contracts, as far as special needs services or transportation. And they've really, they've gone above and beyond and gotten us some really good pricing and future costs, present and future costs.
I guess this is a multiple question. In looking out to next year, are you anticipating any reduction in enrollment? There's been significant declines, obviously, and along with that, any projected layoffs in terms of the faculty?
We will have layoffs. It's sad but true. We will have layoffs, and I have already alerted everyone that there will be layoffs. That's why the work we're doing right now is so important, because we have until June 1st to notify people of layoffs. So we want to be very careful and precise and clear on where we need to make some staff reductions, so that anyone that is impacted, it's really clear why. And I don't want to put people through stress that there's no necessarily any reason to be put through stress. So that's very important. So we have the next couple of months. What makes it really difficult, and that's why I always say the system is broken, we don't find out from the General Assembly and until late April, May, June usually. I'm going to say it's usually June what our state allocation is going to be. And then the city, I know, is trying to be really good about scheduling us earlier rather than later, just to have the conversation. And I think we're going to be meeting with them in April, so we can kind of give them a heads up, an early heads up on where we are. We are going to be asking for most likely a 4% increase over last year's. budget request. It's not finalized. It's still a working document, but those are the numbers I'm seeing at this point in time.
Last year, what was the increase?
Oh, I
There
can't
was,
even
let me
remember.
just make it easy. There was an increase last year.
There
because
was an increase, yes.
because
yes, absolutely.
the city can level fund the schools, which I know places like Westerly, that seems to be the tradition now. And that's really a budget cut because costs go up, and if your income doesn't go up, that's a cut. So I was just curious about that. Talking about funds, we know that things are a little bit in turmoil from federally. How much does the school system rely upon any federal funding? And are you concerned about that?
At this moment, I'm aware. Let me say this. We're aware. We're monitoring this very closely. At this point in time, no, I'm not, as far as where we are right now in the budgeting process and how much we've already moved forward and spent. Right now, I am wondering about the 25-26 school year as we fill out, that's called the Consolidated Resource Plan, CRP, for our federal funds. But none of the criteria has changed as far as, I think Director All and her team are on top of it, and with Director Gonsalves, and we'll continue to monitor it. At this point in time, no, we're just keeping our ear to the ground, listening carefully, and making sure we're following all the rules.
I just wanted to check on one more thing before I go into the happy talk, because there are lots of good things we want to do. Conversation about merger, is that still going on?
I hear rumors it is, yes.
Okay. You can give us nothing more than that?
I can't give you anything. I have not been in any meetings or anything of that nature. So I hear strong rumors that things are going on.
And going on in a positive way?
I hope so. I just know they're going on. Yeah.
What would be your expectation if things came together? Middletown's building a new high school, and I guess a middle school also. Rogers is going to be brand new. How would that configuration all work?
I don't, and that's a bigger discussion. We need a whole show for that one, what the configuration would look like. I think really one can ease into it. I think that's the best way to say it. You can ease into it. And what I mean by that is, first and foremost, if people are serious about it, and people means people, community members from Middletown and Newport, a vote must be taken for Newport to benefit, must be taken, I would say by September, October at the latest, so that Newport could reap the full benefits. I think it's, instead of a 50, and don't quote me as being exact, it's around a 53, 54% reimbursement right now, maybe as high as 57. I don't think it went that high though. And then we could benefit up to almost 80% if it was a go, because our final date for filing for the project, our project for the $98.5 million bond, is December 31st, 2025. So some kind of vote, a formal vote, would have to take place before then. And then I'm sure there's going to be some actions we're going to need to take to be able to benefit from that regionalization from a money perspective. From a administrative, educational perspective, that is a lot of discussion, but a lot of positives are, we're using the same curriculum as Middletown. We're trying to do as much collaboration, which we have in the past, but I know Director All and the Assistant Superintendent over in Middletown, Michelle Fanesca, has been trying to collaborate more. So in purchasing and other things, we can do a lot as far as, again, that's financial, but it's also in the professional development area. Professional development area, we can bring more teachers together to talk about instruction, to talk about what's going on in their classrooms. and we can share best practices and really expand what we're doing with regionalization. I think to ease into it, you can have a K through 12 district. And I know for little ones, that's always what mom and dads and families are, this is my neighborhood school. Well, you can, coming from a larger district, you can always set those parameters based upon your busing. So it doesn't mean that all children that are in certain schools right now have to go to different elementary schools. They can go to the same elementary schools. You can do that. That's part of the easing in. Then for the middle school and high school, I think that's where the bigger conversation is. What is the long-term goal? I know for one community, it was we should have one high school. And then what came before the voters was 2 high schools, and quite a few like that as well, because I think there was only 170 vote difference between accepting and not accepting. So those are the things that I think that need to be ironed out. I think they need to it also needs to be communicated that this is not a switch on, just a flip of a switch. It's going to take time. You have to look at this as a 3 to 5 year, transition, I would think, in the fact of just how you want to roll it out. I'm not saying it takes 3 to 5 years to do all this, but you need to really give people time. And you need to, bring your unions on, both unions. You have to have conversations with them. And, I could see the union saying, well, why would we want to do this? And I think that's a discussion you have to do there. So I think there's a lot of conversation, but you can make it I think with Middletown and Newport together, you can have a very powerful, not only educational system, your sports teams, all the different things you want to do. And each of us has a lot of, I'll say, assets and programs that more children on Aquidneck Island will be able to experience. So that's my 2 cents about it. But again, I'm not there. I'm here with you.
Well, I wanted to get to something you mentioned earlier about the school report card nights.
Oh, yes. So we're very excited about, we saw a great crowd at our last school committee meeting, and we would love that kind of participation for our school report nights. And what report card nights are is we actually go through with families showing you, here's Thompson, here's Pell, here's Rogers, here's the report card. This is what makes us a strong school. This is the areas we need to work on. And we have, when you break down those report cards, we have 4 stars, the highest you can get in some of those categories. But the one common denominator amongst all of them is student achievement and growth. The report card always falls to your lowest score on your report card. And that is where we need a lot of work. I know our teachers are working very hard in the instruction, the rigorous instruction in the classroom, but that's the area we need to work on. And our teachers are doing the job. What I need parents and families sending children to school so they can learn. If they're not in school, they can't learn. Does that make sense, Ryan?
One of the quick programs, just give me a short synopsis of each. 2 exciting programs. One is the Pathways program, which looks like it was really successful, and the other is the Playhouse program, which I think is pretty exciting. If you could just kind of, and those are my wrap-up questions, but I think those are 2 great programs.
Okay, yes, our Pathways program, that was a dream. I would say 3 to 4 years ago. Chairman Gomes and Ida Neary got together, and half our children didn't even know there was a university up the street. So what we did was, and thank you to Dr. Kelly Armstrong, president at Salve, a partnership was formed. Mike Monahan has been instrumental, but we are first generation young people that their families have never experienced college or the university. We recruit here in Rogers High School, and then in 10th grade, they sign up and they become a part of this program, which takes them through 10th, 11th, and 12th grade. And then from there, we send them off with success. We are proud to announce that every child that applied for college and university, 4-year colleges, got accepted, have multiple acceptances, and will be going on. And the support doesn't stop there. We continue their first year out. We support them. There's some place for them to turn. And I want to congratulate Salve Regina. I believe they're on the cover of U.S. News and Report. They have just gotten some great accolades, and I was so busy this morning I couldn't read the entire article. But in that article is one of our pathway students that have made it and are graduating from college. So we are so excited about that. The other one is the Playhouse Project, which is part of our Career in Tech program. Every year, our construction technology groups build a playhouse based upon a wish from a young child. Most of them have some chronic illness, and our technology group gets together, they build this playhouse, and I gotta say, they're amazing. They have electricity, some have running water, the whole 9 yards, air conditioning, and then our arts department and our advertising, design, media, and our arts department, they decorate, they do the layout, whatever. At the April showcase, April home show at up in Providence, the children are invited to the home show and they're awarded their playhouse. And we've been participating in that now for about 5-6 years. It's fantastic. It's just great. And yesterday, I have to tell you this, our culinary team did a great job at the USA Skills. We won at that first place. They got third, which is very good. But you know, we're tempted. We've gotten seconds, and now this is our first third. But we won first, so we're going to be back there. But they did a great job. USA Skills, all our CTE programs. This is their month. They're competing with other schools in New England and in the state. So we're very proud of our CTE students. This is CTE month in Rhode Island, or nationwide, February.
I was going to mention just briefly that I've seen at the home show in Providence these playhouses that the schools do. It's incredible the work that they do. Really amazing. Colleen, is there anything you'd like to add? Ryan, you have any questions?
Nothing to talk about today, eh? I will say the Pathways program is amazing. Had the honor, my wife and I had the honor of having the kids for dinner, as well as I had the honor of spending a couple of days with them in DC. And I've already gotten a text from Ida of we're coming back at some point. So
he invited himself back to your house, huh?
I didn't say that, you did. Yeah, anything else, Superintendent?
Yeah, that just goes to show you community. It's the partnership. We have Salve Regina, we have Ida over there, and we have our community partners. Everyone's working together. We have Fab Newport, Ellen Pinnock, she's with us as well, and Anna Gomez. So we have so many people that are helping us. It takes a village, it truly does. And we're very fortunate here in Newport.
All right, excellent. Well, we will look for your updates coming soon, and we appreciate you taking the time for joining us.
Thank you very much.
All right, so that is Newport School Superintendent Colleen Burns-Jermain. We appreciate her joining us last Wednesday of every single month. If you ever have a question for the superintendent that you don't want to just reach out and ask her directly, you can send them our way. We'll ask them during this program. Frank, any final thoughts?
No, I think we covered a lot of ground today, actually. And which is good. There's lots going on, and I think that thing that sits on our shoulders a little bit is we just don't know what's going to happen with federal funding, and that could play a significant role in budgeting for next year, and we'll just have to see.
Will it play into the conversation that nobody wants to have publicly regarding regionalization?
Well, I think that's true. I think, RIDE wants schools to regionalize. It makes a lot of sense. I mean, I saw I have a sheet. I was actually looking at it. I didn't have it right near me. I was going to pull it out. That compares enrollment in schools in Rhode Island from 2004 to 2024. There's only one district in Rhode Island where enrollment is increased. That's in East Greenwich, where it's up maybe 8%. Everyone else is down considerably. When you take a look at I looked at some shore communities, and a lot of it is associated with affordable housing. And why is it associated with affordable housing? Because affordable housing means that families can move into a community. So Narragansett and South Kingstown are at almost 50% reduction in school enrollment. Wesley's at over 40%. Charlestown is at 20 some odd percent. While Kids Count will tell you that the 18 and under population is decreased in the state by 6%. So then you have all kinds of theories why that's happening. More charter schools, more private schools, more homeschooling. But it is significant, the reduction, and that's pushes RIDE to continue to push for more regionalization of schools.
Well, we will keep an eye on that for sure, and we'll bring you the latest on it. All right, Mr. Prosnitz.
Very good. Thank you, Ryan.
All right. If you missed any portion of this interview, want to watch again, want to share it, all available on whatsupnuke.com. It is the top story right up there. We'll turn this around as a story as well. And of course, you can always listen to it on our website as well. We want to thank the superintendent for taking the time to join us. She joins us on the last Wednesday of every single month at 1:30 p.m. City manager joins us on the third Wednesday of every month, and we'll be getting the mayor as well as city council members back on here, as well as some other officials from across the state in the coming weeks. Thanks for watching.